I think apprenticeship is a term that's been used for generations, and there's an apprenticeship which is a concept, and there's an apprenticeship which is an official apprenticeship that's backed by the government. Now, both your organisations do the official apprenticeship version, don't you? What is the eligibility criteria for that kind of apprenticeship? What age and qualifications do you need to be?
Yeah, the majority of our learners are funded, so they're eligible. So the eligibility is along the lines of, one, are they in full-time employment? Two, are they from the age of 18, which is set by a Sector Skills Council? And then three, making sure that they've not progressed any further levels if they're starting at a level 2. So for an example, if somebody's got a degree, they're potentially not eligible to be doing a funded apprenticeship programme.
And just to clarify on that, they could do an apprenticeship, it's just that the organisation wouldn't necessarily get funding for their training.
Yeah, and to clarify on that, what we tend to do as an organisation is still offer that opportunity. Therefore, that's looked at in different angles. But the majority, everybody is or has the opportunity to work towards this qualification because it's good CPD. However, if they're not eligible for the funding, it's still available.
And what is the case the same for yourselves?
Very much so, yeah. I mean, the government subsidy or funding comes from the same body, so they stipulate all the criteria. And as we've already said, it's about the person must be employed, working in a relevant industry. And then also, with an apprenticeship, it's a combination learning programme between the employer and the training provider. The government put in the money. Unfortunately, they're not putting in as much money as they used to, so there's still an employer contribution. But having said that, with a partnership learning programme, what we tend to do is listen to what the employer wants specifically, and then we can modify our delivery to make sure that everybody's getting what they want out of the learning programme.
So at 16 or 17, are there apprenticeship options available in the outdoors, or?
Definitely in the cycling. Definitely in the cycle industry. What a lot of people seem to think is that some young people leave school at 16 at GCSEs, and that is the conclusion of their education. They've gone into the world of work and they're just going to, survive on their own, and that's it. They've kind of turned their back on education and gone to the world of work. In actual fact, that isn't. Couldn't be further from the truth. And what an apprenticeship does is it offers that young person an opportunity to gather qualifications and skills, and to progress on. So if they then get to a full level 3 advanced apprenticeship, they can then use that to return to further education if they want to, because it satisfies all the entry requirements for a foundation degree. So it's a wee diversion, really. Rather than going through sixth form education, you can actually gain qualifications in the workplace.
Was it the same answer for yourself, Graham?
I would say similar, yeah. Then it depends on, I think, which has been a debate in the outdoors for a long time regarding health and safety and the age brackets of when the employer wants to release that individual to take extra added responsibility. So in general, the majority of the learners that we work with, or the individuals that we work with, are 18 plus. But yeah, there's an opportunity for 16, 17-year-olds depending on the employer.
Okay. And again, to explain this sort of formal apprenticeship, what does it actually consist of? Is it literally work experience, or is it a bit of work, bit of training, a bit of monitoring? Could you sort of expand on the key elements that are within your programs?
Yeah, okay. It is. It's a merge of both. And the beautiful thing of the apprenticeship is that the individual gets to experience the in-house training that the employer is given, and then we come in and support that. So we come in and support, we observe, we monitor, we put people through the key skill tests, and it's always ongoing. It's developmental, which is quite important. But there's certain stages where we will come in and check and monitor that process. But ideally, it's the full package. So it's what the employer wants to deliver, it's the learning that the individual gets, it's the type of people that they're working with, so the clients, and therefore we'll wrap that up with the apprenticeship to make sure they achieve at the end of the duration.
Yeah, with the way we deliver, we actually have two fully equipped training workshops, one in Aylesbury and one in Manchester. And the candidates are invited down and they come and spend time with a fully skilled trainer, two blocks of time, and they can actually learn all the necessary skills in a clinical, fully equipped learning workshop. They then go back to their place of work, and they're then visited by an assessor, top-up trainer, and they do all the finalisation of the training and the assessment to make sure that not only the person's got the skills, but obviously they've got the competency to use the skills in a working environment.
Okay. And geographically, availability of apprenticeships in the outdoors, are they available UK-wide or only in specific regions?
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. Generally speaking, from our point of view, if the learner is in the English border or within the boundaries of England, then they're okay, they're eligible. Certainly from the point of view if they're in Scotland or they're in Wales, both of those countries have their own funding rules, and so they are different than the English ones, and obviously not funded by the Skills Funding Agency.
I think for us that's our unique selling point. We are a flying college, so to answer Andrew's question, which is it accessible? It certainly is from our perspective as a training provider. As I said earlier, we've got assessors, qualified assessors scattered north, south, east, west of the country, certainly England. So therefore we're hoping to be accessible to every employer in the outdoors, and if that's something the employer wants, then hopefully we're the people to be able to offer that.
Okay. And how long does an apprenticeship last? Is it a fixed term or is it variable? What is the duration of an apprenticeship?
I think the Sector Skills Council Skills Active quote 12 months for a level 2 and then 24 months for a level 3, in particular certainly in sport, which is what our remit is. However, we tend to work to the individual and work to their strengths, and therefore sometimes if somebody achieves in 10 months and that fits that individual to achieve, then that's equally quite usable and successful.
Yeah, I'd echo those sentiments entirely. All of the learning programs are centred around an individual learning plan, which is individual to that learner. So if the person wants to progress at a quicker rate than standard, there's nothing to stop them doing so. The minimum time level that's set is 12 weeks. However, having said that, the amount of learning that the individual's got to take on would be very hard to achieve in 12 weeks. So our level 2 guys are generally 10 months and our level 3 guys are 20 months.
I don't think that was us. I think that's next door. All right, so it's actually a variable period. It's slightly different to the academic environment whereby you start the course in September, take exams in June, that sort of thing. It's much more learner-based, how quickly they're progressing. There are minimums, but...
Yeah, very much so. And one thing that we have to say is we don't go on academic years. So you don't have to wait until the August, September start of the academic year before starting a learner. The courses are ongoing all the time. So you can start any week of the year and you can progress at your own rate. And obviously all the learning and the qualification is all competency based. So if you can confirm that you can do it, then you can progress on to the next element of the award.
And an apprenticeship, is it always... Can you still hear me? Yeah. Is an apprenticeship always a paid experience, or can it be unpaid? How does it actually work from the student's point of view?
Yeah, I mean, I think the government set a minimal payment, which I believe has changed. I think the minimum payment is $275 per month. Again, I'm talking of the sports sector. It can vary depending what sector apprenticeships are delivered. However, certain employers choose to pay up to the minimum wage for people to do an apprenticeship. That's certainly the choice of the individuals. But the apprentice themselves does get paid and potentially gets a little bit more depending on the employer, so i.e. travel, accommodation, and so on and so on. And that's obviously fits into the legal ramifications of it.
Yeah, all of our learners are actually paid members of staff in businesses. They might not be on the kind of headline wage for the grade, but obviously the employer's paying for all the learning. And then generally what we find is once they're qualified, they then go on to the higher grade salaries as well.
Okay. And what kind of tangible experience and particularly qualifications might you have at the end of an apprenticeship? Do you actually get any, for example, in the outdoors world, there's NGBs, National Governing Body Teaching Awards. Can they be included in an apprenticeship sometimes?
Yes, again, speaking on behalf of the sports side, to attach to the apprenticeship framework, the Sector Skills Council Skills Active look for 2 national governing body awards. So for an example, archery, fencing, first aid, things like this, which are the skills that the individual needs in the first 12 months. I think the key thing for me, as in something being a bit more tangible as well, at the end of the level 2 apprenticeship in sport, I think what's really important from my aspect is the soft skills, the soft side of being an instructor, so that personal interaction with people, with your customers, good awareness of the basis of risk assessment and how to risk assess and so on. So I think there's a lot of soft skills there that the individual learns and develops, but equally can progress to decide to make a choice if they want to go down a specific sport, be it climbing, kayaking and so on.
Yeah, with our graduates obviously leave with an industry recognised qualification, which is the Cytech award. They also leave with an MVQ, which is a recognised broad-based engineering skills award. So that obviously opens up other horizons to them, towards other employers or further education and so on and so forth. Also, if they wish to emigrate, then some of the awards that we offer are actually recognised as point scores on the immigration papers of other countries. So we've had a lot of success with level 3 mechanics now heading off to Australia or Whistler in Canada, where they come in as fully qualified people with the necessary point score as well. The other thing also I think you have to say for a lot of our learners is when we start, particularly with the younger guys and the girls, they are disenchanted with education. And they come into work and we reintroduce them to learning and skills acquisition in a different environment and a different method of tuition than they've encountered before. And it's really, really pleasing to see that reignite the flame for them for learning. And it then puts them into the attitude of lifelong learning, so they're looking to progress and better themselves, you know, having left school disillusioned with education.
And could you just explain about, you mentioned that Cytech is nationally recognised as a qualification. Could you expand on that? It's nationally recognised by the industry, by the trade, or?
Yeah, Cytech is the bicycle industry's recognised qualification. So anybody working in a bicycle-related industry, be it maintaining the bikes that the post office use or the Met Police use, this award is recognised by the public liability insurers now, so it's the kind of benchmark qualification and skills benchmark for anybody working with bicycles now.
Cool. All right, and so we understand a little bit more about apprenticeships now, which is fantastic. And if somebody out there wants to do an apprenticeship, what's their first step? How do they go and find an apprenticeship and apply for one? How does that actually work in your respective industries?
For ourselves, obviously, we are fairly well known, and we're actually the market leaders in what we do. But anybody, if they approach either the ACT, which is the Association of Cycle Traders, they will put them via the Cytech into our site, get into contact with the actual guys at the office, or they can contact any of the regional assessors directly. One thing we always do is provide guidance on the employment requirements and the funding requirements. So it's probably best to access us through the Cytech or the ATG website.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think for us from our side, the first thing to say is there's a National Apprenticeship Service which is online, and you can read up a little bit more in general about apprenticeships if you need that further information. For the sport sector, again, Internet, Skills Active, which I believe are going to be here doing a talk at some point over the next few days.
Well, thank you both very much indeed. It's been a really informative talk. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you.